Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In less than 8 months, I'm going to conclude my 28 years here on the House. One of my major priorities and proudest accomplishments has been to chair the Animal Protection Caucus and lead the effort in a number of those provisions. It didn't start out that way, but the more I listened, the more I studied, this priority stood out. My first major accomplishment dealt with animal fighting, a barbaric practice with hidden support in Congress and around the country. And there are pockets of some states where this tradition continues. But it is a barbaric tradition. They train dogs and chickens to fight to the death. And it is often organized in rings of criminal elements, people who are involved with illegal gambling, drugs. There is it's indescribable in terms of the cruelty that is involved. There are times where there are children involved watching this, the drugs, the potential harm to animals. Infections took place with the chickens. There were millions of chickens that had to be destroyed because of infections that spread through animal fighting. This all is hidden from the general public. When the focus was trained on it, we were able to gain momentum here and ultimately enact, step by step, painful accomplishments that crack down on this cruel activity. Some of the worst people on the planet, as I mentioned, dealing with drugs, gambling, money laundering, and the risk the animal health. We watched how the agenda broadened to include other areas as well. Performing animals, protections of elephants, big cats. Again, public attention on the cruel and dangerous practices that helped us make significant progress. To broaden the agenda beyond just animal cruelty, what we found is that the care and welfare of people's pets was also important in terms of protecting families. We found repeatedly that people would put themselves in harm's way in conditions of flood and natural disasters because they didn't want to leave their pets. Domestic abusers would stay with the abuser because they were afraid of what would happen to their pets. We worked to expand protections in shelters for disaster, for domestic violence, to be able to include people's pets so they would feel more comfortable actually availing themselves to the service. I'm pleased with the strength of the movement. It's gained momentum. My law school alma mater, Lewis and Clark College, had one of the first animal studies programs across the country. And we're watching these spread in colleges and universities across the country where more and more people are studying, learning, and protecting animal provisions. I was pleased that we recently have a rule now that will end the horrific practice of animal soring. This is where you torture a horse with wounding it so that it'll have that distinctive gait, or have extraordinarily heavy weights on their legs to develop that distinctive gait that is prized by some people who show horses, but is hopelessly cruel to the animals themselves. Year after year, we had a majority of people in both houses supporting legislation to end this practice, but we were thwarted time and again by the special interests who wanted to promote the Tennessee walking horses. Finally, we've seen a rule that has been promulgated that will end it after years of struggle. It's one more signal that the animal welfare movement is alive, well, and gaining momentum. It's something I hope to put my energies in the remaining time I have in Congress to build this bipartisan movement to protect animals and meet our responsibilities for their, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson, for 5 minutes.